you'd like to tackle today?
Yes. I want to work on finding the highest point.
Okay.
So if the problem is a ball is shot into the air from the edge of a building 50 feet above the ground. Its initial velocity is 20 feet per second. The equation h equals negative 16t minus 20t plus 50 can be used to model the height of the ball after t seconds. About how long does it take for the ball to hit the ground?
Okay. So your equation again, I believe, was minus 16t squared?
Yes. Plus 20t.
20t?
Yeah.
Plus what?
Plus.
All right. Can you speak a little closer to the microphone? I have a hard time hearing you.
Okay.
Ah, that's a lot better. Plus what?
Plus 50.
Okay. This is your standard equation for projectile motion.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether you're kicking a football or firing something straight up into the air. Okay?
Okay.
The H stands for height. T stands for number of seconds. So this is a function of t. Meaning it's the only variable I'm going to find on the other side of the equation. I'm not going to find x's or r's. I'm going to find t, where t is in seconds.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if I look at that, this right there is the initial velocity.
Okay.
This right here is the initial height. Because what is it that's being shot up into the air? A cannon? A ball?
A ball.
A ball. Okay. So where is the ball at 0 seconds? In other words, what is h of 0? Notice that when you plug in 0 for t, it takes out the first term and the second term completely.
Which means it's 50.
So this number here is always the initial height. This number here is always the initial velocity. And this number here is actually related to the acceleration due to a falling object. 32 feet per second is the acceleration that it comes back to Earth.
Okay.
Okay. So if we look at that function as a quadratic, it's going to be upside down, right?
Yeah.
Because it's got a negative coefficient, meaning it's going to be down. And that's the exact way that this ball is going to go. So if we want to find, I believe you had two questions, finding the height and finding when it hits the ground, right?
Yeah, finding when it hits the ground and and the height.
And the height, okay.
So the
I haven't quite drawn my picture right. Let's redraw it to get it right, because I know it starts at 50 feet. Okay, it doesn't start at 0 height. It starts somewhere like that. So it's a parabola that's going to still do that, and we got to figure out what that point is and what time that happens.
Yeah.
Well, let's figure out the vertex first. And does it ask you what is the height, or does it ask you when it happens?
It asks me page. It says how long, what is the height? Like, what's the vertex?
So we have to figure out where it occurs, in other words, where that vertex occurs, and what is it? What's the y-coordinate of it?
Yeah.
And that y-coordinate will be the height, the maximum height that that ball is. Now, we didn't talk about this yesterday, but do you know how to find the vertex from a quadratic in this form?
Is it using the quadratic formula?
No.
Oh, that's tutoring.
No, what we're looking for is the vertex, okay?
I'm not sure then.
And there's a real simple way to find the x-coordinate of the vertex, similar to the quadratic formula, the same a and the same b. But that will give you the x-coordinate of the vertex, or actually the t-coordinate, because the horizontal axis is in time.
Okay.
So what's that equal to?
It would be negative 20 t. Negative 20.
Not 20t, just 20. In other words, b is just the coefficient.
Okay. So then it would be negative 20 divided by 2 times negative 16.
Okay. So that is what? 10/16 or 5/8. So at 5/8 of a second, it's going to hit that point. In other words, when time is at 5/8, it's going to hit its vertex. But it didn't ask you what time it hits its peak. It asked you what that peak was. So how do we figure out the y-coordinate of the vertex?
You
plug in to the original equation 5/8 for t. So you get minus 16 times 5/8 squared plus 20 times 5/8 plus 50. So you got to do that math.
Okay.
And I can either wait and have you do it on your calculator and we can get an answer, which is probably the best way to go, or we can just go to the second part of the problem. In other words, I don't think you need my help to do arithmetic. You've got a calculator, correct?
Yes.
You know how to get this answer in your calculator?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on, because I'm sure you have a lot more stuff that you want to cover.
Yeah.
So the question, the second part of the question says, when does it hit the ground?
Okay.
And they want the time it takes to hit the ground. What is true right there about height?
It's 0.
So if we substitute 0 and now solve this quadratic, we'll figure out whatever t comes out to be, and you're going to get two different solutions, because remember, quadratics always give you two different solutions.
And you choose
one of them is going to be negative. Can time be negative?
No.
No. And where that negative answer is coming from is right there. So we're going to throw that one out, but we're going to keep this one over here. In other words, the positive answer.
Yeah.
So what you have to solve for here, and I think I can erase most everything so that we have room to do this problem. And we basically just have a quadratic that's got to be solved. We know the height has to be 0.
Okay.
So how do we solve that quadratic?
Use
Now the first question you always have is, can I factor it? This is such a complicated quadratic that I don't want to waste 10 minutes of my time trying to factor it. There's an easier way to solve it. What is it?
Using
Quadratic formula.
Quadratic formula.
Okay, so tell me what it is, the rest of it.
It would be negative, it would be negative 20 plus or minus the square root of 20 squared minus 4 times negative 16 and 50.
Yeah. Again, you can see how easy it would be to make a mistake here. That looks like two subtraction signs, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to forget the denominator, minus 2a. So let's simplify this. Now remember, the way you always do this is do these three things first.
Okay. So you would multiply negative 16 by 50.
You know what I would do? I would multiply 4 times 50, which is 200.
Okay.
Times negative 16 is minus 3,200. So this whole thing I can replace with minus 3,200. Okay? Now what? That's minus 20 plus or minus what?
400 plus 320.
3,200.
Yeah, 3,000.
Well, that's 3,600. Which is nice because that's a perfect square number.
Yeah.
What's the square root of 3,600?
60.
Okay, so I can replace that whole thing with 60. And now what I have is minus 20 plus or minus 60, all divided by minus 32. Well, I can tell that the negative number produces a positive.
Yeah.
And the positive number produces a negative. So I don't want the positive.
Yeah.
See why? In other words, if I use this, I got minus 20 plus 60, which is 40, divided by minus 32. That's a negative number.
Yeah.
Can't have negative times. So I don't want to use the plus, but if I use the minus, then I got minus 80 over minus 32. That is a positive number. Go ahead and get that in your calculator.
Okay. That's 2.5.
So 2.5 seconds after the ball is shot into the air, it hits the ground. And that's regardless of the angle. If it's straight up, it's the same as if it's at an angle.
Yeah.
In other words, projectile motion, sometimes if it's straight up, it looks like this.
Yeah.
And it's hard to analyze. But if it's at some kind of an angle, then it's usually like that, which a parabola represents projectile motion. In other words,
Yeah.
if I were hitting a baseball at an angle, it would travel on this path, right?
Yeah.
But if I was shooting a tennis ball straight up in the air, it would go straight up, come right back down. It still follows the equation of that parabola.
Yeah.
A little difficult to understand. And this is where they kind of usually introduce you to parametric equations, but we don't need to go there.
Yeah.
What else do you got?
Okay, so there's a problem.
A little closer to the microphone if you could.
Okay, so using the box and diamond method,
Okay.
so 3x squared minus 20x minus 7.
All right. Here's going to be a problem. I hate the box and diamond method. Every student I've ever had hates it.
Yeah,
Nobody can remember it. It's very confusing, and I don't think it's the best way to factor these things.
Yeah.
Okay? So I can't even tell you how to do it by the box and diamond method because I don't ever use it. Some student explained it to me 5 years ago, but I still don't use it because I don't think it's the best way to do it.
Okay.
And I'll show you why.
Okay.
How would I do this the way I was explaining it yesterday?
So you factor out 3, which is 3.
No, 3 can't. 3. And only way you could factor out 3 is if these other numbers were divisible by 3, and they're not. Either one. So you can't factor out anything. First thing you have to do is split up your total number of x squareds. What does that split up into?
X. And
It's not x and x, because x times x is x squared. We got 3x squared.
and another 3x.
3x. That's how you split up 3x squared.
Mm-hmm.
What are both signs?
1 is plus, 1 is minus.
There's the plus minus. And because my coefficients of the x term are different, I have to allow for a minus plus also. Now, there's not a lot of factors of 7. What are they?
1 and 7.
That's it. 1 and 7. So what's my next step? Just try it. In other words, your box and diamond method has the exact same trial and error aspect to it that my method has.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to try to figure out what the answer is. I'm just going to start with a 1 there and a 7 there. What does that produce for a middle term?
3x and negative 7x.
Combine them?
Negative 4.
I didn't get the right number. So what's my next step? In other words, I know that if I move the 1 down and the 7 down, I'm going to get the same 4, only it's going to be plus 4.
Yeah.
So instead of moving the 1 down and the 7 down, what's the next thing I should try?
The quadratic formula?
No, switch them.
Oh.
Put the 7 on the left and the 1 on the right.
Okay.
In other words, I know there's only 4 combinations.
Yeah.
Either the 1 is on the left and the 7's on the right, which we just proved can't be.
Yeah.
So we're going to try the 7 on the left and the 1 on the right. Now what's the inside?
21x.
What's the outside?
Negative x.
Combine them.
Negative 20.
Not negative.
And positive.
So now we got the right number, but the wrong sign.
So you move
I know how to handle that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just move the 7 down,
Mm-hmm.
move the 1 down. Now my inside's going to be minus 21x. My outside's going to be plus x. That's going to give me a minus 20x.
Yeah.
Now maybe all of that is more complicated than the box and diamond method, but I don't think so.
Okay.
In other words, when you use the box and diamond method, you go through this same procedure where you have to kind of try the 1 and the 7 in different places.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. If you're going to get tested on using the box and diamond method, you probably need to learn it. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be a whole lot of help to you.
It's okay.
So if you have another way of learning it, I would, but you can see that it's not that hard to factor these, just doing it the way I do it. And ultimately, in math, they are never, and I quote, never, going to ask you to use a particular method like the box and diamond method. They're always going to say factor it and solve it. So I can do that with my method just as easy as using the box and diamond method. X equals 7 or x equal negative 1/3. Those are your two solutions. Okay? And I actually think my method is faster.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that doesn't help you if you have a teacher, but it's only going to hurt you in the 7th grade. Once you get to the 8th grade, they're never going to ask you to use their method to do it.
Okay.
Okay? I know that doesn't help you a whole lot because you are in the 7th grade and they are asking you to do it. I'm just telling you, I don't know how to teach you the box and diamond method.
Okay.
Okay? What else?
So calculate the x-intercepts.
Okay.
Y equals x squared plus 10x plus 24.
What is true about the x-intercept?
I think I already solved this one, so can we do one that I'm actually not sure about?
Absolutely. You're the director here. You tell me what you want to work on.
So y equals 3x squared plus 2x.
Plus 2x?
Yeah.
And they want the x-intercept?
Yeah.
The key thing is knowing what the x-intercept means.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a graph, this is a quadratic that opens up. I'm just going to approximate it like that. I don't know if that's it or not. But there's 2 x-intercepts there, right?
Yeah.
What's true at both of those spots?
There is no y coordinate.
There is a y point. What is it?
0.
That's the thing. X-intercepts, y equals 0. Y-intercepts,
X equals 0.
x equals 0. Don't ever forget that right there. That's extremely important.
Okay.
So what am I going to do next here? If they want the x-intercepts, how am I going to solve this?
Substitute y for 0.
Exactly. So I'm going to substitute 0 for y.
Okay.
Now how do you solve this quadratic?
You divide 2 by 2 and square it.
No. Now, hold on a second. What's different about this quadratic from a typical quadratic?
There's no
No constant.
Yeah.
So start with greatest common factor. Is there a greatest common factor? When there's no constant, there's always a greatest common factor.
Yeah.
What can I factor out of that as a greatest common factor?
1.
No, that's never an answer, incidentally. In other words, it's either a number other than 1 or it's a variable. Can't I factor out an x?
Yeah.
Leaving 3x plus 2. Now I've got two things multiplied together equals 0. Where do I go from here?
You subtract 2 from.
Well, hold on. Let's deal with this one first.
I'm not sure.
That's equal to 0. In other words, what the first rule of algebra says is that if you have two things multiplied together equaling 0, then set both of them equal to 0. Well, one of them is x. So x can certainly be 0. And the other one is 3x plus 2 equals 0, which makes x what?
Mm, 3 divided by 2.
No, you got, that's the second time I've seen you get that backwards. Do it step by step. In other words, don't do it the way I just suggested. Subtract 2 from both sides.
Yeah.
Now what's the final step?
Divide by 3.
Exactly. And when you told it to me, you said 3 divided by 2.
It's 2, negative 2 divided by 3.
Negative 2/3 is the answer. So we have two answers. There's two zeros. There's that one, and there's that one right there. Which means this parabola goes through this point, and it goes through some point over there, so it must look something like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Rithika, are you good to go for today?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened to my recording from yesterday's session, but I have recorded this, and you'll get a copy. I will send a link to your mom's email address, in which case you can review this session. You can watch it over again in a YouTube-like video.
Okay.
Okay? And I will talk to you tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Hi, David. How do I pay you now?
I'm sorry, Raj, I didn't quite understand that.
How do I pay you?
Oh, do you have a PayPal account?
Yeah, I have.
PayPal is the way to do it.
Okay.
If you go, here, let me show you. Here, let me just go to my website, and I'll work you through exactly how to do it. It's pretty easy. If I go to digitalmathtutor.com,
Okay.
that's the first thing. And if I scroll down where it says buy now,
Okay, got it.
I click on that. And then you have to put in the amount.
Okay, got it.
In other words, if I click in there and type 16, which is the amount for today, then as soon as I hit continue, it will pop open a screen that only you can see that lets you put in your PayPal.
Okay, got it. Okay, I will do it now.
It's as simple as that. And then it's like one click after that.
Okay,
And
thank
if
you
you
very much.
want, since we have a session scheduled for tomorrow, I would say just go ahead and make one payment for 32.
Okay, sure.
If you want to do that, that's fine with me. Works out a little bit better. The smaller the number, the higher the percentage they take. So
Okay. Okay.
32 is better than two 16 ones.
Okay, got it.
Okay? but that's
Yep.
the way you do it. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And I will talk to Arithika tomorrow at 5.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.